So today we're going to be recapping the New Orleans Saints 17-18 loss against the Green Bay Packers earlier this morning. I waited to make this video just to kind of see if we get any more update on Derek Carr in the hours after the game. We got a little bit of an update, and so we know he left the game. I believe it was in the third quarter um, with a shoulder injury. Initially, people might have thought it was concussion, but the play that really looked similar to me was Aaron Rodgers. I think he's broken it twice, but I know one time against the Minnesota Vikings when he broke his collarbone. It looked very, very similar to that. But what we're hearing so far is that it's a right AC joint sprain, which they're saying it's not going to miss the whole season. I didn't even think for a second he would miss the whole season potentially, so I don't know if I was just like underestimating it. But hearing that he will miss the whole season, but he's going to miss some time is still worrisome to me. With that, when I think of that, I think of like maybe 6 to 10 weeks he might miss, and if Derek Carr misses that many games, I don't know how the Saints will be able to stay afloat, even in a division who so far today the Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons both lost, which is very good for us. But just trying to stay afloat in the NFC and also trying to win our division. We're obviously rooting for the Eagles tomorrow. But with the way Jameis looked today, he didn't look like someone who was ready to go in there and make plays. And we really haven't seen that from Jameis Winston. He only had a few games last year, but last time we really saw those before he tore his ACL against the Bucks. And in those first few games, in those ones, he was really good. Ironically, it was against the Packers in 2021. We had to play. I think it was in like Jacksonville because of the Hurricanes. That's when Jameis was really good. But ever since he had that injury, he hasn't really been the same. I think he's more so scared of getting hit, especially after last year, hurting his back, has some vertebrae problems, and he probably saw how Derek Carr was getting protected out there and was scared, which I don't really blame him. We could have saw this as Saints fans. We seen the problems with the offensive line already in the first 2 games of the season, and it was nothing different today. So it really wasn't something that surprising. Like like Derek Carr was taking too many sacks or anything. Trevor Penny, frankly, just can't block very good. Other players just they're getting bull rushed. Um, and so it really does suck to see Derek Carr go down. I 100% thought we would have won if he would have stayed in the game. We've seen in the last 2 games when it came down to the wire, Derek Carr makes plays to Rashid Shaheed. We did see James Winston make a nice throw to Chris Olave, but Blake Groupie couldn't make the field goal. But we shouldn't have been in a situation. The Saints didn't move the ball at all in the second half without Derek Carr. They had 5 straight punts up until the last drive they had of the game, where they finally got into field goal range and were moving the ball a little bit. But even then, it's just we had bad mistakes. We had Chris Olave and Michael Thomas getting in the way of each other, running a route, which was a terrible mistake in that because Chris Olave was open right there, but he brought the defender over there, and it was lucky, frankly, that it wasn't intercepted. But the small miscues like that, the Saints just cannot have. Trying to win a game, we were 1 first down away from icing the game, not letting Jordan Love get the ball. I mean, maybe we would have missed the field goal still. But even if we would have made that field goal, the way our defense played in that fourth quarter, I frankly don't think we would have won that game regardless if Blake Griffin would have made that kick. So I frankly don't blame him at all for that game. He's been good throughout the season, and the offense in that second half and the defense in the fourth quarter played abysmal. So the Saints really had no business. They were up 17-0 going into the fourth quarter. There's no world where the Saints should lose that game, no matter. So Jordan Love, who's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, I think he's a very, very good quarterback, and I think he's a bright young star for that Green Bay Packers. And I think he's someone that is going to fill in perfectly with the loss of Aaron Rodgers now, of course. But I also wanted to talk about the Saints. So we know Derek Carr, I'm just going to assume he's going to miss the next 6 to 10 games. Um, so I'll go over our schedule at the end of this video, kind of see like what games he might miss. And if I'm just like pausing for a second, I'm also seeing this end of this Raiders Steelers game, kind of see what's going to happen. But now let's go over this box score. So for the Saints, before Derek Carr left, he was 13 of 18 for 103 yards, 1 touchdown, had 3 sacks, no interceptions. So let's go over Derek Carr before his injury. He was playing okay. First, our second drive of the game after the Packers went for it on fourth down, was really good. That drive was very, very good. Good mix of the balance of Kendre Miller, a little bit of Tony Jones, and it's kind of getting Michael Thomas involved as well as getting Chris Olave. Chris Olave looked very good with the ball. he has throughout the season, but just some of the plays most ordinary receivers would turn into like a 3 or 4 yard game. He would turn into a 10, 11, 12 yard gain, which is very big just to get those first downs. Don't have to get into third downs because when defenses know it's third down for us, our offensive line cannot protect it. We had to, our best plays are early in downs and first downs when it's not an obvious passing situation and defense cannot tee up and just run after Derek Carr. We've seen, I don't know, I think to me it feels like most of our sacks come on third down when it's obvious passing situations, and the defense just blitz Derek Carr and our offensive line cannot protect him. But I really do think Derek Carr played a good game. Our defense was phenomenal in the first half. A lot of it had to do with a little bit of Packers miscues. We had Jordan Love would have made that pass, and maybe it would have been a touchdown if the running back didn't throw it to him, and then Jordan Love slipped as well. He was open. And they also have, and then it was the early fourth quarter when they went for a fourth down. Jordan Love and the running back had another miscue. Small things like that where the Packers were frankly playing pretty good. They just had small miscues. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how Derek Carr played, and I 100% think he would have won us the game if he didn't get hurt. So let's go over Jameis Winston. He was 10 of 16 for 101 yards. He took one sack. I really wasn't that impressed with Jameis Winston. You can blame Pete Carmichael all you want, but I just think some throws late in the game. We had another drive where it was the second to last drive we had where it was like I believe it was third and short, and then Jameis Winston just threw it away, and it's just like, yeah, you led to see another down, but just like him and the offense got to make some plays. We can't put our defense on that much pressure going late in the game, going constant with the Green Bay Packers trying to find a rhythm. Later in the game is when the offense starts to know what the defense is doing. The defense is more tired. That's when our offense has to step up, and it frankly just didn't. So I'm hoping Derek Carr misses the small amount of time because you'll see how our schedule is. So I think our schedule is kind of favorable for maybe winning at least half of the games without Derek Carr. But it'll be very interesting in the next coming weeks. So our leading rusher was Kendra Miller. He had 9 carries for 34 yards, an average of 3.8. And then Tony Jones with 8 carries for 31 yards. And then Taysom Hill, 4 for 12. Our running game was basically just, it was okay today. It nothing really big. We didn't have very many big runs. Every time we had a nice run, it was always holding. Taysom Hill had a nice run, holding. Kendra Miller had a nice first down, holding. And it's just like, you can't have those penalties. I'll go over the penalties that we had, but it's just unacceptable. So our leading receiver was obviously Chris Olave, 8 catches, 104 yards. He had a really nice one-handed catch on that sideline. It's back-to-back weeks where he's making one-handed catch. And I really do think Chris Olave is a young star in the making. He's on the level of where Justin Jefferson was maybe like a few years ago when he's just starting to barely tap into his potential. And the sky is honestly the limit for him. If you keep a good quarterback around him, I mean, Jameis threw it to him a lot last year, but just having a good quarterback like Derek Carr, who was good at kind of reading the defense, kind of nitpicking, finding holes to throw to him, be very important. Michael Thomas had 6 catches for 50 yards. He was very quiet in the first half, but later in the game, once Jameis got in there, Jameis loved throwing to Michael Thomas. Other receivers, everyone else was 21 yards or less. Pete Warner, 11 total tackles, 7 solo. Marshall Lattimore had a fairly decent game. It's another situation where when he doesn't have a star receiver kind of to go against, I think he kind of like plays down. Everyone on the Packers is really good though. All the receivers are just kind of like above average. Romeo Doubs, Reed, they're all just kind of just young stars, and they didn't even have Christian Watson, Aaron Jones today. But Marshall Lattimore, I think, played very decent. Alontae Taylor, it was a lot of ups and downs with him. He had 5 passes defended today. They were really trying to attack Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor was playing mostly in the slot today, but there's a few times where he played outside. I thought he played fairly good. He had some bad PIs. The Saints defense in that fourth quarter, the second to last touchdown drive, way too many. They scored a touchdown. I believe it was like a minute and 30 seconds. There was back-to-back pass interferences that led to like 60 yards of down the field, which was just unacceptable. I think Alontae Taylor really did play a pretty good game. He had that one pass interference, but other than that, I really did think he played good. And hopefully Paulson Diva won't be out too long. But, hamstring injuries, you saw Jamal Williams go on IR with a hamstring injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if Paulson Diva will be out kind of a similar amount of range. They didn't put him on IR, but maybe like another 2 or so weeks. Um, Isaac Yadam, he had 4 passes defended. They were really testing our corners in one-on-one. Anytime they had a one-on-one matchup, you saw in the end of the game they were getting them, but in the earlier in the game we were locking them up, and it was just kind of back and forth throughout the game. Kind of lived with them. Dennis Allen left a lot of our corners on an island throughout the game, which I'm frankly not very mad at. I thought our defense played fairly good, and that's kind of the defense that we always ran, no matter the personnel. Kind of just believe in our corners, let our linebackers try to get in the run game because our defensive line sometimes struggles covering the run. But I was honestly kind of happy with how our corners played. The Packers are going to get going eventually. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. Their receivers are fairly good, and you can't expect them. They only scored 18 points. So this team scores under 20 points, we should win that game 100% of the time. And it's kind of just going back to last year, and the defense was really carrying us throughout the end of the season, and our offense really couldn't do anything. That's why we, frankly, didn't make the playoffs. Our defense was by far good enough to make the playoffs. Our offense just couldn't score more than 20 points. And this season, we scored over 20 points one time, and we just scored exactly 20 points against the Carolina Panthers. These 3 defenses we played are good, but they're nothing special. They're not the Niners, not the Cowboys. They're not the Cleveland Browns. They're not the top tier defenses. They're above average by far defenses, but we have to score over 20 points. We're not gonna win a playoff game without scoring over 20 points. It's just completely unacceptable by the New Orleans Saints. So let's go over Jordan Love stats. He was 22 for 44, so he only threw 50. He had a 50% completion percentage, which is very good. He had a lot of those completions later in the game in that fourth quarter. He was very good, very accurate, and the receivers were really making some plays, some diving catches, one-on-one contested. It's very good to see from them. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The interception was terrible. It was like one of the first plays out of half. Lonnie Johnson had the interception, which was really nice. A.J. Dillon, Jordan Love basically just held check in the run game. Jordan Love did have a really nice rushing touchdown against Demario Davis. It's kind of unfortunate. It's really hard, I feel like, sometimes to be a linebacker or be like trying to tackle quarterback, because you always have to have, in the back of your mind, I feel like you're always thinking about slide, because once you commit and they slide, it's really hard. But in that situation, I don't think Demario Davis had even thought that Jordan Love would just slide, but I think he really just thought he was going to go outside, and the cutback was Jordan Love just made a good play. You have to give him credit for that for sure. So that's basically all. Blake Griffin missed, I believe, it was like a 45, 47 yard field goal. It sucks that he missed that, but I don't blame it on him at all. I think that defense had to play better in that fourth quarter. I think through the first 3 games, the biggest struggle for the New Orleans Saints is when offenses hurry up and tempo offense really kills New Orleans Saints so far. We saw the Panthers 2-minute drive. I thought that was more so like fluke, just kind of let them have it. But we kind of saw it today in the fourth quarter when the offense is just passing, throwing, hurrying up to the line. I don't know what is with the New Orleans Saints. We just can't get the calls in time, or just our minds just like flutter or something. But the Saints really struggle when they do that hurry up offense, and that's how the Packers are basically getting all their success. You had sloppy penalties like pass interference, holding, all that once the Packers start going hurry up offense. So I think that's something Dennis Allen really needs to fix with the defense. And once we get an update kind of on Derek Carr, I probably expected it for sure at least next week. If you had to go to a hospital, you get tests and everything, you can get more tests tomorrow, I heard. So I at least expect at least next week, and probably most likely the week after. So before we end the video off, let's kind of go over what's the Saints schedule. I'm gonna go over the next 6 games because that's kind of what I expect Derek Carr to miss, probably the next 6 games. I kind of did a little bit of research on what is an AC. We don't know the exact severity of it yet, but I was just kind of assuming 4 to 8 weeks. So I'm gonna go right in the middle and just guess 6. So we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. So James Winston most likely will play, being his former team. We saw him play him, I believe it was last year, and we lost. It wasn't very good. We couldn't score. James Winston was getting sacked all game. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really do have our number a lot. Ever since Tom Brady left. Tom Brady was there last year, but mostly since Drew Brees left, they've kind of had our number more so. We had that one year when Jameis was able to beat him and everything. But last year they really had our number. And I think we almost beat them again last year, but then they came back at the last minute. So then after that, we had the New England Patriots, which they're okay, but their defense is phenomenal. I can just see them creating straight havoc. Even if Derek Carr was in there, I can see him creating havoc. But if Jameis Winston's in there, they're gonna play mind games with him throughout the day. Bill Belichick's gonna create a perfect scheme. That's a tough matchup for Jameis Winston for sure. Then after that, we go Texans, Jags, Colts, Bears. So my hope is we go 3-3 or best case scenario 4-2 without Derek Carr. If these are the 6 games, I think we should definitely beat the Bears, Colts, Texans. Colts played a really good game today. Gardner Minshew was in there, and they beat the Baltimore Ravens. But I expect Anthony Richardson to be back then. Hopefully, we can give him some problems, even though we really do struggle against rushing quarterbacks, rushing teams in general, like a Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. We always struggle against those type of teams. But I really do think a rookie quarterback, same with Justin Fields, it'll be hard. It's really going to test us. Same with CJ Stroud even. But I think we can go at least 3-3. If we can go 3-3, have a record of 5-4, and when Derek Carr comes back and we kind of have more of an easier schedule after that. Well, I don't know if it was saying next say easier because these teams at the end are pretty good. It's a lot of division games. Um, we have like Vikings, Lions. But we also do have games in there like the Giants, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers. So those games are like division games you never know. No matter if the Panthers haven't won a game yet, it's going to be a hard game to win no matter what. And so yeah, I'll keep you guys kind of updated on Derek Carr's injury status. Might read through shorts or anything. If we get like another update, like kind of the timeline of how long he's gonna miss. And if I have time this week, I'll definitely try to make kind of a preview video going over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Previewing if Jameis Winston's gonna be our quarterback most likely. Alvin Kamara is coming back this week, which will be huge for the New Orleans Saints. Missing Derek Carr sucks that they can't get that communication, that chemistry starting to get going. But I really do believe in the New Orleans Saints. I think they can beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll kind of see how they look again tomorrow. First 2 games of the season are really hard to dictate how a team looks. We saw a lot of fluke, especially in the first week, and it kind of starts evening out. We kind of see what teams are actually going to be good throughout the year. These next few weeks, like week 3, 4, 5, we'll kind of see after that like how teams really are, and see if the first weeks of the season were just fluke and how they're going to carry out the rest of the season. But overall, it was a really painful loss to see the New Orleans Saints lose like that today. Yeah, it's gonna happen though. We won 2 really close games the other 2 weeks. I mean, the Panthers game I don't really think was close. The Titans game was pretty close throughout the game, even though it shouldn't have been. Saints got to get those easy wins. We can't lose a game up 17-0. This is the biggest lead we've had all season by far, and it's the game we actually end up losing. We're not very good when it comes to we're playing above because I think Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, start playing not to lose instead of trying to win a game. So I really think we have to change that up. Kind of staying aggressive. I know it was kind of probably hard without Derek Carr and having Jameis Winston because you don't want to push it too far because Jameis Winston loves to kind of make mistakes. Kind of hard to trust him with the ball in his hand sometimes. So I definitely expect to see a lot more Taysom Hill in these next few weeks if Derek Carr isn't able to go. Kind of take the ball out of Jameis Winston's hands. Try to be a lot more run heavy. We have a lot of running backs now available. We have Alvin Kamara coming back, Tony Jones, Kendra Miller, and we also have Taysom Hill in there as well. Mix it up in some Rashid Shaheed. We also have like Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. They kind of spread the ball out when we do want to pass the ball. I do think we can get Juwan Johnson a little bit more involved. There were some passes today, especially like he had like a little out route to Juwan Johnson. That was almost an interception in the last drive of the game, but Juwan Johnson did run a really good route, and Jameis Winston just threw it late. I think it's a pass Jameis Winston would definitely like to have back. But yeah, it was a tough loss today for the New Orleans Saints. More so just losing Derek Carr. I'd rather have lost this game and then still have Derek Carr for sure. But give me what you guys think in the comment section down below. How long do you guys think Derek Carr will be out? What do you guys think the record will be without Derek Carr? Do you think we'll go 3-3, go stay 500, go 4-2, or even you guys will be worse than 3-3 without Derek Carr if he does end up missing like kind of like 6 weeks? So stay tuned for more videos. If not, you'll hear from me next Sunday. Kind of going over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, but hopefully hear from me before that. Kind of update on Derek Carr and anything else from the New Orleans Saints. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and peace.